Welcome back to the deep dive. We are keeping the momentum going today with another installment of our knowledge series, curated just for you in the Custom Case Coach community.
That's right.
If you've been tuning in, you know the mission here. We aren't just, sharing interesting trivia. We are actively trying to build your business acumen.
That really is the goal. We
Yeah.
want to make sure that whether you're an aspiring consultant, an MBA student, or honestly just someone looking to think more strategically, you feel ready.
Ready for anything.
Exactly. You should have the confidence to tackle any industry that gets thrown at you in a case interview.
Yeah.
You need to know the lingo, the players, the economics.
Yes. The worst feeling is getting a case on an industry you know zero about.
Yeah.
We want you walking into that room or, logging onto that Zoom call feeling totally bulletproof.
Mm-hmm.
And today we are taking to the skies. We're looking at the airline industry.
A classic.
It is. And I have to say, before we started prepping, I just thought of airlines as, well, a way to get from point A to point B. You complain about the leg room, you get your little bag of pretzels, but it is so much more complex.
It really is. It's this fascinating, incredibly complex web. You have these massive fixed costs, super volatile pricing, huge regulatory hurdles, and just brutal competition.
So it's a perfect storm?
It's a perfect storm, which is why it's a favorite for case interviews. It forces you to balance so many different variables at once. It's a mix of operational complexity and, frankly, financial fragility.
Okay, so let's set the flight plan. What's our mission for this deep dive?
Our mission is to get you to stop thinking like a passenger and start thinking like a CEO.
I love that.
We need to understand how airlines actually make money, which is way harder than you'd think, where all the costs are hiding and what major trends are shaping the industry right now.
Stop thinking like a passenger, start thinking like a CEO because, and this is the hook that really got me, we all fly. We all think we know this business.
Right.
But so few of us understand why it runs on these razor-thin margins. Why can a ticket be $200 one day and $800 the next, and the airline might still be losing money on that seat?
It's the great airline paradox. It's this sexy, high-profile industry that is historically just terrible at making consistent money.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Warren Buffett has that famous joke that a true capitalistic kitty hawk should have shot Orville right down to save investors a century of pain.
Wow. Okay, so let's unpack why that is.
Let's do it.
Let's dive right in. Segment 1, the landscape. If we're going to crack a case on airlines, we first have to define what we're even talking about. Is it just people on planes?
Primarily, yes, but we have to be precise.
Yeah.
The industry is air transportation for passengers and cargo. Don't forget the cargo.
Cargo, got it.
But when you look at the market, especially in the U.S. and Europe, you see a really clear split. There are two very, very different business models.
Okay, right. So on one side, you have the giants, the names everyone knows. We call them the legacy carriers.
Exactly. So in the U.S., think the big three: Delta, United, American.
And in Europe.
You've got British Airways, Lufthansa, Air France. These are the huge full-service carriers. They operate what we call hub-and-spoke networks.
Okay, can you just quickly break down hub and spoke for anyone who isn't familiar with that term?
Sure. So instead of flying you directly from, say, a small city to another small city, they fly everyone into a massive central airport, a hub.
Like Atlanta for Delta.
Precisely, or Chicago for United. And then from that hub, they redistribute passengers to their final destinations. It lets them serve more cities with fewer planes, but it adds a lot of operational complexity.
And they have all the bells and whistles, lounges, international flights.
The whole premium experience.
Okay, so then on the other side of the ring, you have the challengers, the low-cost carriers.
Right, these are the disruptors that compete almost entirely on price.
So we're talking about Southwest.
Southwest is the classic example, though they've kind of become a giant in their own right.
Yeah.
But you also have the ultra-low-cost carriers. Think Allegiant Air, Frontier, Spirit.
And in Europe, someone like Eurowings.
Exactly. Their whole model is stripping away the frills, no free meals, no free bags, tighter seats, all to get that base ticket price as low as humanly possible. And they fly point to point, avoiding the big complex hubs.
So you've got the giants with the big network and the scrappy low-cost guys fighting on price. I'm guessing the competition is intense.
Intense is an understatement. It's a dogfight. And here's a key nuance for a case interview. It's not just domestic competition. You have foreign airlines, and some of them are partly subsidized by their government.
Oh, that's interesting. So it's not a level playing field.
Not at all. If a foreign airline has government backing, they can afford to operate routes at a loss that a private U.S. carrier just can't. It puts massive downward pressure on prices worldwide.
Okay, so If it's so competitive and the margins are so bad, why don't we see new airlines popping up all the time? Could I start deep dive air tomorrow?
You'd run into some pretty serious barriers to entry. I mean, besides needing billions for planes, there's a huge physical problem. Gate space.
Gate space? You mean just like the physical spot at the airport terminal?
Exactly that.
Yeah.
You can have the best planes, the best pilots, but if you can't get a slot at JFK or Heathrow to park your plane and board passengers, you don't have a business.
And I'm guessing that space is all locked up.
It's incredibly limited and often controlled by the big legacy guys through long-term leases. It's a massive moat protecting them.
That makes a ton of sense. Now, before we move on, we have to talk about the ecosystem. Airlines don't operate in a vacuum.
No, you're right. You have to look at the suppliers. You've got the aircraft duopoly, Boeing and Airbus. You've got avionics manufacturers, leasing companies.
Hmm.
A lot of airlines don't even own their planes.
They rent them.
They lease them. It keeps the debt off their balance sheet. And then you have fuel providers, airports, catering, maintenance. It's a huge supply chain, and everyone wants a cut.
Okay, so we got the landscape. Legacy versus low cost, fighting for limited gate space. Let's get to the money. Segment 2, the revenue equation.
Or as I like to call it, how do they possibly make a profit?
Exactly. So who's buying the tickets? Who are the customers?
We generally break them down into two main groups, and they act totally differently. First, you have the leisure travelers.
That's me, going on vacation.
Right. And as a leisure traveler, what's your number one priority?
Oh, price. 100% the price. I'm on Google Flights for hours trying to save $50.
Exactly. You are highly price sensitive. In economic terms, your demand is elastic. If the price goes up just a little, you might drive instead or not go at all. Airlines know this.
Okay, so that's one group. Who's the other?
The business travelers. And for the airlines, these are the golden goose.
Why is that?
Because they're way less sensitive to price. Their demand is inelastic.
Meaning they have to fly no matter what.
Pretty much. If a consultant has to be at a client meeting on Tuesday, they have to be there. They can't reschedule. They book closer to the flight when fares are higher, and their company is paying for it anyway. That's where the real margin is.
So leisure travelers fill a plane, business travelers pay the bills.
That's the traditional model, yes.
Yeah.
But here's where it gets really interesting. And this is a key insight for any modern airline case. Ticket sales are just one part of the revenue story. We have to talk about ancillary revenue.
This is the stuff we all love to hate. Baggage fees, right?
Baggage fees, seat selection, priority boarding, buying that $5 water on the plane, all high margin. But there are two other huge streams people miss. First one, freight.
Cargo, you mean?
Yep, putting cargo in the belly of the passenger plane.
Yeah.
The plane is flying there anyway, right? The fuel is already burned. Filling that empty space with packages is almost pure profit. On some routes, the cargo pays for the entire flight's fuel.
That's brilliant. It's basically free real estate. What's the second hidden stream?
Credit cards.
Wait, what? Like the airline branded Amex and Visa cards?
Yes. This is a massive, massive business. Some analysts argue that airlines are basically banks that happen to fly planes as a marketing tool for their rewards programs.
That sounds like an exaggeration.
It's not as much as you'd think. Airlines sell billions of dollars worth of miles to credit card companies. The banks use them as rewards. For the airline, it's stable, high-margin cash that isn't dependent on weather or oil prices.
So when I use my card at the grocery store to get miles, I'm basically helping the airline's bottom line.
You absolutely are. During the pandemic, for some airlines, the loyalty program was the most valuable part of the entire company.
That's wild. Okay, so that brings us to pricing. It feels like a slot machine sometimes.
It's called dynamic pricing. It's based on willingness to pay. They use these incredibly complex algorithms to constantly adjust fares. If you're booking 3 weeks out, you're probably a leisure traveler, so they show you a low price.
To get you to...
Right. If you book 2 days out, you're probably a business traveler, so they jack up the price because they know you have to pay it. It's a constant game of yield management.
Okay, so that's the money coming in. Tickets, fees, cargo, and credit cards. But the hard part is keeping it. Let's talk segment 3, the cost structure.
And this is where the business model gets really, really tough. It's a capital and labor-intensive industry.
Break that down. Capital intensive means you need a ton of cash just to play.
A huge amount. Buying a single airplane can cost hundreds of millions of dollars. Then you need hangars, IT systems.
Yeah.
It's a massive upfront investment.
And once you're running, you've got fixed versus variable costs. This is so critical for case interviews. How should we think about this?
Okay, so fixed costs. These are the bills you pay whether the plane takes off or not. Think aircraft lease payments, those airport gate fees,
Yeah.
headquarters staff, marketing.
And I bet insurance is a big one.
Oh, it's astronomical.
Yeah.
And these costs are rigid. You can't just turn them off if a recession hits. You still have to pay for the planes.
Right. And then the variable costs, the ones that change based on how much you fly.
Exactly. And there are three huge buckets here.
Yeah.
The first one, and it's the monster, is fuel.
Yeah, you hear about that all the time.
It's the biggest headache for every airline CFO. Fuel can be anywhere from, say, 25 to 40% of the entire budget. And since it's tied to crude oil, it's totally unpredictable.
So a geopolitical event can suddenly make an airline unprofitable.
Instantly. And there's very little they can do in the short term. It's a massive external shock that can wipe out a year's profit.
That's scary. What's the next big bucket?
Labor. That's about 26% of costs.
Mm-hmm.
And the key thing here is that airlines are heavily unionized. Pilots, flight attendants, mechanics. This makes labor costs very sticky.
Sticky meaning you can't easily cut them.
You got it. Because of collective bargaining, you can't just reduce wages in a downturn. So even though it's technically a variable cost, it behaves a lot like a fixed cost.
Okay, fuel and labor. The third?
Equipment and maintenance. That's about 10%. But here's a little strategic nugget for our listeners. There's a really smart way to optimize this that often comes up in cases.
Ooh, a nugget. Lay it on me.
Fleet standardization.
Meaning?
Think about Southwest Airlines. For decades, they only flew one type of plane, the Boeing 737.
Why would you do that? Don't you want options?
Not if you want to be efficient. If you only fly 737s, you only stock parts for 737s. All your mechanics know one engine. All your pilots are certified on the same aircraft.
So if a pilot gets sick, anyone can step in.
Exactly. It lowers maintenance costs, training costs, and, this is critical, it speeds up turnaround times on the ground. Less time at the gate means more time in the air making money.
That's a great point. So if a case client has like 5 different types of planes, that's a red flag for costs.
A huge red flag.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's zoom out. We have the players, the revenue, the costs, what's happening in the industry right now. Segment 4, trends and drivers.
The biggest trend I've noticed is that the names on the planes keep changing.
Consolidation. That's been the story of the last decade. The U.S. market went from 6 big legacy carriers down to just 3.
Who merged with whom?
Well, you had United merged with Continental, American merged with U.S. Airways, and Delta had already absorbed Northwest.
And why did they all do it?
Honestly, survival. This business model is so fragile. Get this. More than 20 airlines have filed for bankruptcy in the last decade alone.
20. Wow, that's not comforting.
Right. So you merge to get bigger, cut redundant costs, you don't need 2 CEOs, and hopefully get a little more power over pricing.
And what about growth? Is the industry exploding?
Not really. It's a mature industry. Growth basically just tracks GDP. It's not a tech startup where you can grow your way out of a bad cost structure. You have to be efficient.
Which means you're at the mercy of these big macro factors.
Completely. We already hit the big one on the supply side, crude oil prices. That dictates everything on the cost front.
And on the demand side, it's the economy.
Per capita disposable income. Leisure travel is a luxury. If people have less cash, that vacation is the first thing they cut.
And the airlines are just constantly trying to manage this.
It's called capacity optimization, the endless struggle to fill every single seat. Because once that plane takes off, an empty seat becomes a perishable good.
It spoils.
Its value drops to 0 instantly. You can't sell yesterday's empty seat. That's why they're obsessed with load factor, the percentage of seats filled. They'd rather sell a seat for $50 than have it fly empty.
It's just an incredible balancing act.
A total high-wire act. They have to do it safely thousands of times a day.
Okay, we've covered a ton of ground here. Let's bring this all home for our custom case coach listeners.
So let's do a quick synthesis.
Summary time. What's the big picture?
The airline industry is a high fixed cost, low margin game. It's totally dependent on 2 things it can't control: global fuel prices and the health of the economy, especially for business travelers.
So what? For the casers. They get the prompt. Our client is an airline with falling profits. Where do they start?
First, look at revenue. But don't just get stuck on ticket prices, because that's usually a race to the bottom. Dig into ancillary revenue. Can they improve their credit card program? Can they optimize cargo?
And on the cost side?
Look for that complexity. Are they flying a messy, mixed fleet? That's a huge opportunity.
Yeah.
You can look at labor, but you have to be careful with unions. The real sweet spot is usually operational efficiency, turnaround times, getting those planes in the air more.
That's great actionable advice. Okay, before we go, you always leave us with a final provocative thought. What do you have for us today?
I want to leave you with a supply-side constraint that is becoming a massive strategic issue: pilots.
The people flying the plane.
We talked about barriers to entry like capital and gates, but right now the biggest barrier to growth is human capital. There's a long, expensive pipeline to train and certify a commercial pilot, and only so many can graduate each year.
So it's a labor bottleneck.
It's a huge bottleneck. You can buy all the planes you want, but if you don't have qualified pilots to fly them, your growth just hits a wall. And we're seeing a major pilot shortage as the baby boomer generation retires.
So what's the strategic impact of that?
It drives pilot wages way up, which hurts costs, but it might also force more consolidation. An airline might buy another one not for its routes, but just to get its pilots. It's a massive risk every airline CEO is thinking about.
Wow, if you can't find the pilots, you can't fly. Simple as that.
Simple and terrifying for the industry.
Well, there you have it, the airline industry, unpacked and ready for your next case. Remember, you're part of the Custom Case Coach community, so if you found this helpful, please follow the show, leave us a review, it really helps, and just keep practicing these concepts.
The more you do it, the more it becomes second nature. You'll start seeing these patterns everywhere.
Absolutely. Thanks for flying with us today, and we will see you on the next deep dive.